All right.
Let's jump in.
First question. If you could go back 20 years, what would your past self think about what you're doing now?
Oh my God. That's a dynamic question.
That's a great question. My past self, I don't want to say what age I would have been 20 years ago, but in terms of like what I'm doing professionally, my past self would have been like, okay, great. Yeah, that's exactly where I want to be. In terms of what we're doing with Sync Seattle, I think my past self would have been highly impressed that there were things that I was doing at the time. I'll just go ahead. I was in college then, so
Right.
I was the president of our student union, and so events. I was doing events on campus, and it wasn't something that I saw myself doing professionally ever. I was just having fun on campus doing that, helping to lead and manage events for students, bringing the community together on campus. And it's like, wow, that's what we're doing today, 20 years later, doing it professionally at a pretty high level.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, 21-year-old me would have just been like,
of course,
wow, like this actually matters what you're doing here on this side too. You're building a skill set.
Yeah.
I think over the past 20 years, I've learned like life can be pretty cyclical like that. You end up doing things sometimes in your early days that prepare you for what you're meant to do later too. Had no clue that this would be something that would be in the cards. So,
but it makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I would be, I want to say a little bit of disbelief, but also that makes a lot of sense. So, I say that because I feel like my younger self, I have always been surrounded by, like, especially my family, just like community oriented, community driven, family and friends, and also just naturally hosting events through various phases of my life. And I think I would be in a little bit of disbelief at our scale in 2 years. I think I would have thought back then, like, okay, it kind of makes sense that you all are kind of thriving in this event space and really great at like networking and promoting causes that matter and connecting people to those causes. Like that makes sense to me, but I think it's the scale and then also the organic growth in such a short time. I think I would be duly impressed. Like a little bit of disbelief, like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Nice.
We experienced crazy growth in Portland. And I would share that same kind of like we didn't do much, but like it exploded and that's really cool. And the organic growth is such a validation of what you're doing too.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's other people kind of getting behind your cause and pushing it forward with you, which is it feels so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Can definitely align with that.
And for you, did it validate like we're in the right place in Portland? Like we belong here because you set up shop there and then it just starts growing, right? Like when something's meant to happen that way, or meant to be, it doors open and it kind of grows that way
on its own.
For sure. It's like, oh, there's demand here, there's need here.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Glad we're here.
And it became a resource for some really great people.
Yeah.
I mean, not just, some of our clients have been really fun to get to know, but also the staff and the attorneys that we've hired down there have made, like you said, we went there almost by accident. We hired someone. It's like, well, as long as you're there, let's see if we can, get a client or two.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's a big part of our.
Suddenly we have 3 attorneys and we're like struggling to keep up. But it's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good problem. Yeah, definitely.
All right, pivoting a little bit. we want to hear about the story how you two met. So, like, when I look at you and your chemistry, I'm like, it had to have been this like storybook moment. Go back.
Yeah.
What was that moment?
Yeah,
You,
okay.
you go
So
ahead.
I was tasked with leading a community service project for an organization that I'm a part of this was back in Charlotte. And you know, it was around MLK Day, so we were doing the whole MLK weekend where we were gonna do the parade and then right after get together, do a community service event. Um, Called around all of the typical nonprofits that we worked with, and ended up talking to Tanise, who was at the time the group volunteer manager for uh, a large nonprofit there, one that I'd worked with before, right? And I knew that they could accommodate what we were trying to do and the numbers and everything, but it wasn't just reaching out, talking to her. Like, she was really professional, and I noticed a difference between the way she handled, the intake of that opportunity versus the other nonprofits I was reaching out to. They were like, "Oh, fill out a form and we'll schedule you." But she was like, "No, I want you to understand end to end what we do back here. Come take a tour. I want to show you what you all will be doing." And so, yeah, when we first met physically, because we were talking and emailing before, was when I came in to do the tour. And she gave me, I had volunteered at this place a number of times already. I had taken interns from the company I was at volunteering there. But, this was the first time I really understood end to end what they did and what impact we were about to make. And she did a great job walking me all the way through that. So that's how we met. I think I'll say I was super impressed. I was just really impressed. Wanted to get to know her better.
Of course. Yeah.
We had some good conversation beyond that, but I was super impressed just by that. We had an event with the organization I was with. We had an event coming up. Made sure to get her some tickets to it for taking such good care of us, and we became Facebook friends after that, and just kind of started chatting, hung out as friends right after. I'm talking a lot.
No,
That's okay.
Keep telling me about my yeah. So that's pretty much like how we met. But I think the beautiful part of it is like, one, essentially we met with through volunteering.
Yeah,
so it's
community
something we're
work, amazing.
extremely passionate about, like deep rooted within both of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But two, just how we naturally developed, like before we ever like actually dated.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time together just having meaningful conversations and really building like a solid friendship.
Yeah.
And I think that, so we're coming up on 10 years of marriage this September. And I think,
nice. Congrats.
Thank you. I really think it's the foundation of community and the foundation of our friendship that gets us to where we are today.
Yeah. We were friends for like a year and a half before we even started dating.
Yeah, I hung out all the time, but we were really just like,
That's like finest kind, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
It was pretty natural. Like we didn't have a whole lot of drama around any of that. It was just, we're friends and we loved hanging out together, and then started dating, and then we were engaged, and we weren't engaged long. Like,
we were only engaged, I think 7 months.
7 months, and then we got married.
We got to it.
You knew.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Where did the phrase "lover of people" come from?
Oh, that's a good one. I think for me, so I use it most often. I think you maybe like use it sometimes, but I think that's kind of been my go-to, because I always say, since I was like a cookie selling Girl Scout, I've just have naturally found joy in, whether it be conversing with someone just in a social setting, supporting someone through like a role, like a job, giving back in my own sense of community. I have just always found so much joy, and like my quality of life comes from connection with other people. And so it's like, when I say lover of people, it's kind of like it might sound corny, but like I feel like it's my whole being, like who I am.
Yeah.
And if you kind of look at the trajectory of my life and even how we met, and me at the time taking that role serious, like every person that I connected with at that one organization where we met, I took the time to give
Mm.
tours and things like that. And so I think I don't know. I like to try to see people past just kind of the initial surface level. And that's
Mhm.
even if we are only passerbys and we
Mm.
have like a couple of minutes of
Mhm.
conversation. There's just something that fills me from every human being that I interact with. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of it I get from my mom. My mom was
Mhm.
also like a mother to everybody.
Mm.
So I
Yes.
think that between that being rooted within my DNA,
Yeah.
but then too, just my love of just all things people, just makes me
Mhm.
smile, brings me
Yeah.
joy. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about, lover of people. I think kind of on a humanity level. Um, and if you think about like um, Maslow's hierarchy, right? And you're
Hmm.
thinking of that, we all want and need the same things.
Mhm.
Right.
I can connect with anybody on that at that level. Um, Now, sometimes what that looks like comes into conflict. You know, um, a lot of examples I can give about that, but like somebody needing security in one
Right.
way, right, might look like a threat to me,
Mm.
just because of how I look or
I
how I
see.
show up, right? But the fact that we both want security, we both want safety for our families, I can connect with anybody in the world on that piece. Um, and if we're open minded enough and we understand each other and our perspectives enough, then we can work through that, you
Right.
know. But it's the conflicts of it that I think get in the way of us being lovers of people at times, just on a macro level across society. So that's kind of how I try to look at people, especially like when somebody's saying something crazy, and I'm like, well, no, that sounds, whatever ism or ist you want to put to that.
Mhm.
I try to challenge myself to say, where does that come from? 'Cause I just don't think people are bad by nature. Um, but I think things can happen to people, and people's security or insecurity on that hierarchy of needs can cause
Can
people.
drive some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
So and that's a hard thing to do, because
Mhm.
Oh, no doubt.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Because people aren't born that way.
no,
Right.
no.
We're all born the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
then,
Things just
all of the
And
things
then
happen,
yeah.
and
yeah.
then you know something looks one way for you versus somebody else, and where we're at now in society here is everything has to be a shouting match,
I know.
Yeah.
and does it really have to be that way? If we really take a step back, we're saying we need the same thing. Somewhere something isn't overlapping with me and this person, but if we're really dedicated to saying, hey, we value humanity, we value life, there's this whole Black Lives Matter or these lives matter, all lives matter. Like, if we really believe that holistically as a people, we should be able to work through those types of differences.
You would
But
think.
that's tough. That's
Mhm.
very tough. So that for when I think of lover of people, I think of just I can identify in you, you know, those same feelings that I have to some degree. We may not have the same triggers, we may not have the same perspectives, but we're definitely wanting the same things. You know,
Yeah. It's pretty wise.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of what I think about it, though.
Yeah, perspective is so important. I
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with everything you said.
Yeah, yeah.
And try not to react to something until I have a second to think about that person's perspective, or at least try to think about, okay, what might they have gone through, or what am I missing, or I probably am missing something, or a whole lifetime, because that's
Yeah.
somebody that's not me. So
Yeah.
I love what you said. Random question. Do you ever experience road rage?
It's funny because I drove over here, and yes, yeah. So, of course, I say all of what I just said, and yes.
Does not apply when in the car.
It's like, that's my Achilles heel. I get in the car for some reason, and then I think about it later, and I'm like, why did I even get mad about that? That didn't even, that stopped me for a second and a half.
Yeah. It's so hard not to in the moment.
Yeah.
I struggle with the same thing. All right. When did you each realize that you had a gift of gathering people?
That's a good question.
Is there a moment
Do you
or an
have
event?
a gift to gather people?
Absolutely. I think for me, what kind of immediately pops in my head is like my high school years and being like very involved in like sports, community, etc. But kind of having this like natural ability to like influence and pull people together to go to things. And then I think that really expounded in college where I'm, interning somewhere or, volunteering with causes that span across the campus and needing to like recruit people. But I think it really kind of bubbled up for me in high school. Just my excitement of like helping get people together for things, whether that be something fun socially or raising money for something, etc. That's kind of where it sparked for me. Now, when I realized it was a gift, I think I'll say that was later on in life, maybe my early to mid 20s, where I really began to connect more with who I was from a philanthropic end. And so it's kind of looking at like, so part of our story is once we got married, we would always like have people hanging out at the house because we both just naturally like getting people together. And we started saying like, hey, bring a pair of socks or bring, a new pack of clean underwear. And then we would like hand it out after. And it became so natural. And I think we realized, or I myself, that's kind of when I realized, I'm like, wow, like it really is a gift to be able to like bring people together to have fun, but then also introduce people to causes and then furthermore, literally directly help my local community. And that's really how Sync Seattle was bred.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people ask us, sorry, slight tangent, but a lot of people ask us like, what made you start Sync Seattle or da 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 da? And people don't realize like this was really put on our heart years ago, like 8 to 10 years ago, that we should be doing something for the community to connect them to each other and to causes that matter. Seattle wasn't even on our minds. Like it wasn't even an opportunity or anything we had thought about or wanted. It kind of just naturally developed. So I think the gift part of it realized kind of like once we got deeper into our marriage and started having gatherings at our home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't laugh at me. Or laugh. Laugh if it makes you laugh. But for me, it was preschool. It was literally preschool.
I love that.
And it's a story. My mom loves telling
Tanise
this
rolls
story. My mom loves telling this story, but like I remember it somewhat because I remember it. So I never had trouble making friends. Like I would walk into somewhere. I remember my mom. My dad was military, so we moved from Fort Stewart, Georgia, to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So I had already had my like preschool friends there. I'm still in preschool at the time, starting this new preschool, and I'm the new kid. And my mom picks me up, and she's like, they're telling her, oh yeah, well your son's the popular guy now, and like.
This is in preschool.
It was just like everybody wanted to play with me or wanted to color with me, but I had this one friend specifically. I remember Carl. Carl, got to sit by Derrick. I got to sit by Derrick. Move, that's my seat. It was that kind of thing, and he was a cool guy, right? And so my mom loves telling the story of like his birthday party. He was having a birthday party coming up, and his mom was like, Mrs. Love, please tell me that Derrick Michael Love is going to be at Carl's birthday party, because that's what he would say. I want Derrick Michael Love there.
Oh, that's so cute. The middle name.
And, like, said my whole, like, I didn't even know that. I don't know how he knew it, but like he knew my whole name, right? And so she tells this story all the time. Yeah, and I just knew like this kid wasn't going to enjoy his birthday party if Derrick Michael Love wasn't there. So I had to make sure you went to his party. And so what I noticed throughout my time growing up was I would always build very genuine friendships with people. But what I learned it was a gift again was in college when I built these really, really solid friendships with people that I'm still friends with now. You know, they were in our wedding and everything. And so a couple of those guys, we were rooming together in this 4-bedroom apartment just off campus. And at the time, again, working with the student union, doing those events on campus, but we would have our parties. Like Friday night, we'd have a party, and then the apartment down from us, Saturday night, they'd have a party. It's like every weekend for a couple of months. But every time people hung out with us all together, they would always say, man, I love hanging around you guys. I don't know what it is. It's something about that. Something. And I feel as though like every time we introduce people to that group of guys that I hang out with, it's the same thing. Well, Tanise and I recreate that so many times over and over again, depending on where we are in life. So there was those friends, Tanise's friends as well, which one of the things that was really awesome was when we got married, our groups of friends were really meeting for the first time. They get along very well. A lot of them are still friends, you know.
Yeah.
And so we had made other little groups of friends when we were in Charlotte, and that's what it was. Every time somebody hung out with our groups, wow, this is great. I have never had such a fun time where I can just be myself and let my hair down. And that's what I think people experience with Sync Seattle too. Is, you know, they come out for the first time and they're like, wow, I had a great time that I wasn't expecting to have to that level. I feel like myself. I didn't have to change up who I was.
Yeah.
And they feel very fulfilled in a way, you know.
Okay.
And so that's just like recurring themes I see every time when we have people over to the house and we have get-togethers. Same thing. Like, in fact, people don't want to leave usually. Like we just had one recently where I think we started around 1 o'clock, and I mean people were leaving around 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it was a long day, but it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. So that's noticed it over time, but it started way back then.
He also has an impeccable memory. I don't.
That's pretty. Yeah,
remembering things from such a young age.
I remember a lot of things from that. I remember beating up my first bully back then. You know?
That's something we believe in. Believe me. Yeah, I keep thinking about Michelangelo and the way he did sculpting was I'm not making it; it's already there. I'm just exposing it.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
It feels like when you're talking about the relationships and the way people feel, you're not creating anything. You're just letting it happen.
That's
and just
right.
helping move the unnecessary bits out of the way.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. Yeah. I think people are starving for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just need the opportunity to make those bonds and those connections in a low pressure way.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, you know, we all know we need to network, right? We know that, you know, we know it's what you know, it's who you know. Well, it's part of what you know and who you know, but that can be daunting for people sometimes to say, I'm going to walk into a place where I don't know anybody. I have to come out of here with some contacts that can, you know, professionally or, you know, so I'm not feeling lonely all the time. And that can feel very pressurized for them. Something as simple as just walking up to somebody that you see that's not talking to anyone and saying, hey, you having a good time? What's your name? You know, what brought you out here today? You know, just that. You know, you'd be surprised at how you almost kind of see it on some people. You see that little bit of tension, and then when you do that, it releases a little, and they're just like, okay, I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay. And that's what our goal is when we're at our own events. Is we want you to feel like we want that I'm okay, moment
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
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 That
Yeah.
pressure removed, if
Mhm.
possible.
That's
Yeah.
Ken, you can tell us all about that pressure.
oh yeah, I'm so introverted that I mean no one. Yeah, I'm the person at a party where it's like, okay, there's no one around. Where is the door?
Sometimes I think the only reason I'm here is for that reason.
That is not true.
50% of
The
the
support
reason.
system.
Although it is really hard for me too, like especially when it's a job. It's like
Yeah.
when that pressure is unknown, it's just so much more comfortable. But when you put this expectation on yourself to
Yeah.
show up and have those contacts by the time you're walking out the door, I become a different person.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you think about those situations, what does it look like for you if you give yourself no expectations? The only expectation is I'm gonna have a good time at this, whatever it is. Like no like obviously good time, is contextual, right? We're not saying we're gonna go chug a whole bunch of beers and
Sure.
stand on the table,
Mhm.
right? But okay, specific environment. Okay, I know this is a networking type of thing. Putting the pressure on yourself can be, I need to meet this person, or I need to meet people with this type of profile at this, or I need to collect 8 leads or whatever.
Right.
But if it's just, you know what, I'm thankful to be here today. Can I go to this thing and just enjoy it? What would it be like for you in that situation?
I can only do it when I put the pressure on myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that, and there isn't someone I know that I can talk to, and then other things will form if that's there. But if it's not, as soon as there's that moment of I'm alone, it's like I can't. I need to know where the door is.
Yeah.
And
All exits, yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm out. I mean that so that have a good
That's
time
fair.
is like peace.
But leaving.
Mhm.
That's fair. That's fair. That's
But
fair.
I'm a little
Well,
abnormal.
considering that is one of your things or one of the things you look forward to the least, you do a really good job at it. You've gotten a lot
This isn't
better.
about me.
Well,
You're like, hold up now.
Yeah.
All right, so you have all these relationships you built in Charlotte. What does Seattle? I mean, it's part of your name. What brought you to Seattle?
Yeah, so I got a job opportunity here. In the middle of the pandemic, it was
Yikes.
September 2020 was when I got when I started, and we had the option of waiting a little bit to move until the pandemic died down a little, or move sooner.
So you moved to Seattle during the pandemic.
We moved
Yeah.
during
November
the pandemic.
2020.
In November.
Yeah.
And so we didn't know anything about Seattle. We prepped. I'm sorry.
No worries.
We prepped for getting ready for Seattle by watching a YouTube series called Traveling While Black in Seattle. Shout out to them.
Wow.
And like we binged, I want to say they may have had like 50 episodes at the time, and we binged them. Like we were just like, okay, we felt like we were living in Seattle already at that point. And so
did it help?
It helped
tremendously.
significantly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. We learned a whole lot about the place just by doing that. And, looking at something like that, like video series, and you're seeing people that are friendly on this thing, like walking you through stuff. Now you're like, okay, I get a sense for what Seattle is. And so there was that. The company paid for a house hunting trip for us to come out for a week. That was a great week. Like we really enjoyed it. Met my team while we were here.
What month was that?
That was October.
October. Okay,
Yeah,
so it
early
was starting to
October.
turn cold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then we were moving. We had already had our moving date in November.
Yeah.
And so we were moving. We reached out to the Traveling While Black couple, which
Of course.
ironically, ironically, they actually have the same last name as us. Their last name is Love too.
Yeah.
But we said, hey, we're moving here. We love your series. We'd love to meet you. And they were just like, yeah, let's meet. They're like, our day ones for Seattle now. So
yeah, they're Seattle besties now.
Yeah. So, we love it. Yeah.
But I will say, so moving from Charlotte, North Carolina to Seattle in November, in the midst of a pandemic, not knowing anyone was extremely difficult. Especially, I think we realized this on the house hunting trip, but knowing that it got dark so early, it took us a long time to like stay up past like 6 p.m. and like get used to the time change, but also getting used to the darkness.
And like we couldn't go anywhere really because
everything was closed. Yeah, everything was shut down.
Things were open when we were here for the house hunting trip. So I mean, with the restrictions, right? So we went a couple of different places, and we were like,
we went quite a few places.
Yeah, we were like, we like Seattle. We like some of these different places we can go. We move here. The next day, we see the governor on the news shutting things back down, and so.
Yeah, that morning we went to breakfast at Pike's Place, of course with our masks, and then later that day, no more.
Yeah, Pike's Place was empty. Yeah, we were here. It's 2 blocks that way. It was a ghost town. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but that's what brought us here.
Yeah. Yep.
Moving across the country.
I remember those early days because like we would get excited about going to Target because that was the only time we really left outside of walking the dog. Yeah. And at the time, we were in a little corporate apartment for about a month before we found our space.
Where did you guys end up planting?
Oh, so
now we just bought a house in Seward Park.
I love Seward Park.
About a year ago. I keep saying just, but we we love it. We love it. But when we got here, so they had us in First Hill, and then we settled with the loft in Capitol Hill for 2 years, and that was fun. I feel like we got immersed in it was a lot of things.
It was fun, like
it was time to kind of.
We were coming from a neighborhood in Charlotte that was
walkable,
artsy, active, kind of like that. But then, like we moved to that neighborhood from a more suburban neighborhood in Charlotte, so we were actively seeking that out. Did that for 2 years in Charlotte, then did Capitol Hill for 2 years, and now we're
like okay,
we want space again. Want a little bit of quiet again.
Yeah, we're tired.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Capitol Hill was a lot of fun, but you could hear people yelling and screaming 3 a.m.
Every day of the week.
I was actually I was in Charlotte last October for the first time to see a band that I like. I was only there for a couple nights at the Moo and Brew. I don't know if you guys know.
I gotta say this. It's so much has changed in that city since we.
Lots of new businesses.
It could be new.
A lot of places opened up.
There's a really good burger joint, and they had like an outdoor spot for bands to play. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you think about Charlotte?
I liked Charlotte a lot. Yeah.
It's a cool city.
I didn't get to spend enough time there. We did like a little trip around the South. We were in Savannah, Charleston, Charlotte,
nice.
Durham, because one of my best friends is going to Duke.
Okay.
So it was fun. I mean, I hadn't been to that area of the country before, and I loved it.
Yeah.
October, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you went in the right time.
Is that the right time?
There's times to visit here. There's times to visit Charlotte, and as long as it's not the summer. Avoid the summer there.
I wouldn't say that. It's beautiful. But
I
it's
like
hot.
the heat. I mean, I like the heat.
Oh, you'll love that.
Yeah.
Is it quite humid?
Yes.
Yeah.
Extremely humid.
So the summer of 2020, when we moved here, I was so ready to get out of Charlotte because it literally, from the beginning of June for like 90 days straight, the temperature didn't go below 95.
Yeah,
so
it was brutal.
And it's got
midnight.
that humid, sticky thing where you just walk outside and it's like, okay,
as soon as you
soaking wet.
Yes. So yeah, I would have to walk the dog like super early, and then like he didn't want to go out if it was real hot. So I had to wait for the sun to go down,
You're like, I don't want to go out either.
Yeah, I don't really want
But
to
we
go
got to
out
do
there.
this business because we
Yeah.
can't do it
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we transition to Sync?
Yeah, but
Seattle?
I'm curious. So you got up here, the Seattle freeze. I mean, because Seattle is polite, but I don't know if it's friendly.
That's right.
That's what we always say the same thing. Yeah. Seattle freeze. I think because of when we moved here, our views may be a little skewed by it. So I'm always
That's
careful.
possible. Yeah.
Because, and I'll give you an anecdote about this. When we were living in Capitol Hill, in the building we were in, we may have been here 6-7 months or so at the time, but we're in COVID. People aren't really talking and shaking hands and everything. And I'm on the elevator. The guy shakes my hand and says, "Hey, we were making small talk." He shakes my hand, and I'm
Not a.
I'm
Right.
just kind of like,
No,
yeah, I kind of
elbow
did
bump
that.
or-
Yeah. And then, and then he asked me my name, and we exchanged names, and we were talking on the elevator, and I'm like, okay. And he's like, hey, well, I look forward to seeing you more around the building. And I was like, I got off the elevator. I said, that was awkward. And that was me. I was the awkward one because I wasn't used to that anymore.
Yeah,
It
interesting.
really took a little bit of time to just break down all of our social constructs, just across society. I remember going back in the office the first time with everybody as we were coming back into the office. And we had a meeting as a team, and we were having trouble like just being in a meeting room together,
Yeah.
So while I would say we experienced some of it where it's like you make small talk with people and then they're just like, okay, bye. I didn't know how much of that to contribute to Seattle freeze versus
COVID.
It's COVID. We're all
Right.
a little awkward right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I don't know if you agree.
No,
totally with that.
I agree 100%. And it's like you said, like, so maybe small experiences of the Seattle freeze, but I also think just because of like who we are and our personality, people tend to be naturally drawn to us. I think it wasn't as much of an issue for us as we've heard for some others. And that's like
That's pretty neat then.
Mm.
yeah, so I think it's because we are very intentional about community building, where maybe your average person is like, you want community, but it's not necessarily like your passion or your gift. So you kind of just don't have a path to naturally do that or naturally move forward with finding community. So.
Yeah, when our first get together that we had here, so we moved here in November 2020. June 2021, we were having our first get together at our apartment for Tanise's birthday. Apartment full of people already at that point. So we were making really good connections with people and building good bonds. It was a little awkward again because people weren't used to
finally getting together.
There was weren't there I'm trying to think that there were like mandates of you're not supposed to have X number of people.
6+ people was a big no-no.
Oh yeah, we went way beyond that.
Oh yeah.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. There was like that lucky number 6 or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
6 feet, 6
weird
people.
times.
I don't know.
There was a lot of weird stuff that was going on.
I just still can't get over the like, let's go eat at a restaurant, but we'll keep our mask on until we get to the table.
Yeah.
And then we'll all take our masks off. And then if you have to go to the bathroom, put
back
that
on.
mask back on, walk the 5 yards to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like when we look back, like we describe this to people that aren't born yet. Like they're gonna be like, "What did you do?
Literally,
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
insane.
Yeah.
Everyone did it."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That was a crazy time.
Yeah.
Nuts. All right, so let's talk about Sync
Yeah.
Seattle. Do you guys call it Sync ever? Or is it
Both.
Sync Seattle?
Yeah, no, we say sync all the
Okay,
time.
sync.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk about the first event you had and your emotions leading up to the
Absolutely.
event.
Yeah. So we had been in Seattle about a year, right?
It was a year and a half.
A year and a half. Yep. And then, so we were now naturally having get-togethers. Like, I specifically remember a Halloween where we asked people to bring socks, and we had like bins overflowing with socks, but also had a really good time.
Yeah.
And so we were like, the more and more we're doing this, we already know 8 to 10 years ago, we felt called to create something public. And we were like, we think this is our time. We think now is the time to recreate what we've done for so many years at home and just put an event on Eventbrite and see who comes. Like, let's just see who comes. We had already connected to a nonprofit organization. So at minimum, we knew we wanted to throw like a networking event, happy hour, mixer. We wanted to highlight Black-led nonprofits because they're historically underfunded, and businesses. Both are historically underfunded. And so we were already connected to Bird Bar Place, which is a longstanding Black-led nonprofit in the Central District.
Celebrating 60 years.
Yes. Wow. Yep. Yeah.
60 years.
60 years. Yeah.
So we reached out to them, told them that we are going to throw this event. Would you guys like to be our feature? Come, whatever your call to action, whatever you want to collect. So that was in place, and that felt really natural. But I think for us, it was like our goal. We were like, if 30 people come to this, it's literally a random event on Eventbrite. 2 people that are just newer to Seattle that are trying to do this thing. And we were like, if 30 people come, I think we'll be okay. And I think a lot of our emotions, and you can say so if you felt differently, but it felt very natural. It felt, mind you, there were like some stressors because again, we're literally putting together a public event. Yeah. We had both hosted tons of public events, but not something that was like so personal to us. And so we put it on Eventbrite and we're like, if 30 people come, like this is a success. But another positive element is that my parents were in town at the same time of the launch, our first event. And it just felt so good, like having them there, having their support, and like, because they both also are very much like community and people driven people, I guess. And so, yeah,
Not to mention your parents.
Yes.
Just comforting in general.
Yes. And it was, we ended up having almost 80 people show up.
What?
And we literally so on the Eventbrite page, we shared what our mission was to gather people for a good time while introducing them to local causes and businesses that matter. We made sure to hone in on that it was like natural, low pressure, just come meet some new people. And we packed the building out. And the emotion, I think, was just like immense gratitude. I think is kind of like what I remember is just like looking around and being thankful because people showed up and believing in what we were doing. And even in that moment, I truly believed it wasn't just a fluke. Like I felt like it was the foundation for something really great. And, 2 years later, we've hosted thousands of people and it's just been mind blowing. And I think the reason why, we've seen so much success and why it's always an attitude of gratitude versus like fulfillment is because our goal is to make sure other people are fulfilled. Our goal is to make sure whatever nonprofit who maybe has been around 100, the one we're featuring this month has been around over 100 years in Seattle.
Who is that?
But Atlantic Street Center.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they do a lot in the community around advocacy for youth. They have a ton of different programs. But anyway, saying all this to say is that knowing that we have the ability to introduce these missions and these causes or these products and businesses to people who really are coming together for a good time, but then too also want to connect and do their part in the community, bringing that all together so naturally has just been like that first event, like just like looking around. I had to go to the bathroom at one moment and like tear up a little bit because I'm like, oh my God, like we really are doing this.
And your parents are there to see it.
My parents are there. And it was so funny. My dad's like so proud, like videoing us. But not to take it too dark, but unfortunately my mom passed away suddenly 2 months later. And I would have no idea that launch, our launch of Sing Seattle, was like going to be my last time being around her and hanging out with her. And so she's literally rooted and her and my dad are rooted in the foundation of Sing Seattle. So that's what makes that first event is going to be so memorable in a positive way, because
Right.
that's beautiful memories that
Yeah.
we got to spend together.
Yeah. Definitely natural. You talked about the natural side of it. You mentioned stressors. I'll talk about the stressors. We had this concept that I gotta say we were probably about 80% on in terms of, like, we knew, okay, we want to bring people together. We want to feature Black-owned businesses. We want to feature Black-led nonprofits. But what does that look like, and how do we convey that?
Yeah.
How do we make that look? So part of that was, are people going to get this? Are they going to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it? Are people going to come? Like, so that first event was free. And you know what happens when you put something out there for free on Eventbrite? It's easy enough for people to just click and say, oh, yeah, get me a ticket. I'm coming. But then you have to wonder who's going to show up.
Right.
Out of that.
It's easy to take a ticket.
Yeah. So we're thinking through that. We're thinking through, there was a lot of little logistical things, like, and they would just come up. Sometimes we're just, you sleep, you wake up, something, oh, what are we going to do about this? So that was us not having done formal events in a while, because both of us have done them, but we hadn't done them in a little while. So now we're having to get that muscle back together. And there were some stressors around that, right? With that. I can say the day of, and one thing I've got to say is Tanise's parents were so pivotal in us being able to push that forward for that first event. Because they were here visiting. Not only did they come to the event, but I remember day of, or even day before, and Tanise's dad loves doing this. Like, he was thinking through all these questions.
Yeah, he had a lot of questions for
like, okay,
logistics.
Like, these are the things I think people are going to ask you.
Yeah,
like, about your mission and what you're trying to do.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, he challenged us,
and I loved it. Like, because it was great. It was great. It's like, you know what? We didn't think about that. Or we didn't think about how he's helping us get together talking points. At this point. And then Tanise's mom, like, all of those little artsy things I don't like to do that Tanise loves doing. She was putting together these little gift bags and had a certain way she's tying them up. And I don't like doing stuff like that because I don't have the coordination really to do it, or the creativity. But Tanise's mom was there. And they were sitting there bonding, doing that all day one day. And I'm like, I love seeing that because, one, I don't have to do it. And two, they were spending the time there doing that. So all of that stuff's done. So I'm worried about the stuff that I do well, like the music side and okay, here's the flow of how, I think we should do this. And I'm thinking through now, I'm being the tactician now in that sense.
Yeah.
There were things that were stressing us, but then it's like a lot of those things were just alleviated immediately. It was May, right? And started raining that day, if you remember. It started off real sunny.
It did.
And then it started raining, and
classic.
We were thinking, like, man, is this going to deter people from coming? And
right.
Oh man, like, and then literally.
And then if it had been sunny, would that deter? I mean,
honestly, the sun usually deters people from it, right?
Hour and a half before the event, sun comes out.
Oh,
it's nice out, and so
was it an outdoor event?
No, it was indoor.
Yeah,
but it had an outdoor,
like a little outdoor
space.
patio.
And so with the sun being out, people were able to utilize that.
Lovely.
We needed the space in there because there was a lot of people,
Yeah.
But the big thing
go ahead. No.
was Tanise's mom. So I'm running around being a tactician. Tanise is running around making sure this is happening, and she's talking to these people. And at one point, it was just us downstairs because it was downstairs and a loft, and then the patio. And it was just us downstairs. And we were like, "Where is everybody?"
Yeah, it was weird.
Where is everybody? We go up to the loft section. Tanise's mom is sitting in this chair. Everybody's sitting around her.
It was like
holding court.
They're just talking. She's got this conversation going. And I'm telling you, these people, a lot of these people met for the first time there
Yeah.
and are still friends.
Mm-hmm.
Just starting with that conversation.
Yeah.
She helped lay the blueprint for that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because that's what we aim for now when we have these events. We want people to meet there and become friends, and that's recurred several times.
Yeah, we have a couple of best friend groups that came from people randomly meeting at Sync Seattle, becoming by themselves, and now they have their core groups. So,
What a gift to give people.
Yeah.
You guys are so upbeat. Tanise, how do you not associate that being with your mom? I mean,
no, that's a fair question.
And if it isn't fair, don't answer it.
No, it's completely fair. I'm happy you asked. I actually have a blog about grief, so I do not mind like talking about it.
I follow your blog.
Yes,
it's very wise. Yes,
Thank
I love
you.
it. Yeah.
So I think for me, the memories were like so positive of that time frame that I look at it as a gift. So it's like when I have these immense moments of sadness, one of my practices is like I'll go back and like look at pictures and try to like think of positive memories. And so when I look back at the launch of like this, God-given gift and this business that we have that we're blessed to just bless other people, I think about my mom in a positive light and like her being the foundation of that. So it's actually kind of like healing and soothing to me. Now, mind you, that doesn't mean that I don't have very other dark times around grief in general, but for me, just the equation to sync is like she helped us set the foundation and we built some beautiful memories. It was both of their first time in Seattle. They had so much fun at that trip. So I think of it as like a little bit of a healing power or healing tool. Yeah.
I like that. When you do events, at least some of the events I've gone to, not your events, but there seems to be groups and cliques, and I'm the worst. Like go to with people that you're familiar with.
Sure.
How do you break those patterns?
Oh, great question.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
So we don't always have that problem at our events, but we had it happening at one of them recently, and I just said, this I don't like this. I see people who are obviously familiar with each other talking. There were a lot of people that show up to our events that don't know anybody, and they're looking to meet people, and so those people were like kind of sitting there just watching this, and I didn't want to see us go that route. I did this crazy, I don't want to say crazy. It was like a weird, you guys called it a game, but I thought it was just like an exercise where like, and with that, she's laughing because we had a funny conversation about that.
It worked out really well.
It worked out really well, but I don't even really know what I was thinking. I just said, okay, got to get up here and do something. Told the DJ, give me the microphone. I was like, all right. I had people close their eyes. I'm like, put up a number of fingers, 1 through 5, and then open your eyes. And I want you to find someone with the same number of fingers up as you. Stand back to back with them and close your eyes. And I'm gonna only give you 5 seconds to do that. And so I was forcing people to find someone random to talk to pretty quickly without trying to be
having to think about it too much.
Right.
It's like only thing you should be looking at is people's
make them
fingers.
touch.
Yeah.
And so when they did that, I'm like, all right, so I want you to introduce yourself, and this is how I want you to do it. His name, where you're from, and favorite movie. And I think I just came up with random stuff. And like it was working. I was like, I was thinking in my head while doing that, like nobody's gonna do this. They're gonna ignore me. The people are here to drink and have fun, but people did it, and people were saying, "Hey, that was really cool. That worked." Especially the people that were never been to one of our events, were new here to Seattle. we get a lot of people that are new to Seattle that come to our events.
Yeah.
We actually had a couple that came before they moved here. They were looking at
Yeah.
moving here.
How did they find you?
I think on Instagram or Eventbrite.
Instagram came
Yeah.
to an event, and they were like, "Yeah, we're moving here," you know,
Yeah.
and
It's really cool.
yeah, but
I
yeah,
will say, I think for me, I was nervous when he was like up here coming up with this random activity that worked, because we typically don't have to do that. So in all of our marketing and all of our messaging, post event captions, we always try to create this theme of like, you're coming to like meet people. We make sure people know it's like low pressure, casual, but please be open to like
Right.
meeting people and talking to people. We even say, I think it's at the end of every description, or maybe email sometimes, we used to say, if you're feeling uncomfortable or like you don't have anybody to talk to, like come find us and let's hang out, let's talk.
yeah,
And so I think we try to foster this openness and this feeling of like comfortability even before people get to the event. And then when they're there, you know, when we're making announcements or welcoming people, we also have name tags, and people have said like that in itself helps.
that's a big one too. We used to do the name tags different colors. Right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
then
We
that
got
was
away
the
from
one
that.
thing we did was we
That helped a
challenged
lot.
people, and we would say, "All right, you got a red name tag. So what we're challenging you to do is to meet one person with a red name tag that you didn't know. That's it.
Yeah.
Just meet them. You don't have to marry them, or you
Yeah.
don't have to go into business with them. Just meet
Right.
Very,
you
very
know?
low pressure.
And
Yeah.
I think one other thing that's happened is we set an example pretty early. So those early events, we said we're going to meet every single person that comes.
The two of you.
Yeah. It's harder to do that now because the events are bigger and we've got more going on and everything.
Right.
But we still aim to do that.
As many people as possible.
I feel like we have a lot of people that have bought into the vision overall. I've never used this term, but I'd call them like super sinkers, maybe.
Who come to a lot.
They come to a lot, but not only do they come to
super sinkers, I love that.
I kind of like it. Like I kind of like.
And not only are they frequent, but they follow that same model.
Yeah,
where they're like they'll see somebody sitting around who nobody's talked to yet, and they'll engage with them, and then next thing you know, that person now has met somebody new.
Yeah.
They bring another super sinker
That's
over, or somebody else.
So like assistants helping out.
Or like event.
Yeah.
And so in business, that there are like in big companies, right? Like Microsoft is one of them. When they push through certain initiatives that like are new, they're testing it out. They need to get buy-in. I think they call the employees who kind of help push those evangelists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you kind of have evangelists working and pushing that mission.
Yeah. And I think the coolest thing is like, this isn't something that we ever asked or expected them to do.
Right.
But it's something, and they also get, I think, fulfillment because they're meeting other people and building their own community. But
they buy in, they bought into it, and they say they see the value of it. And so, so it's the pressure isn't on just us to make sure now, like, I think people have that expectation that, hey, if I go to a sync event, I'm going to meet somebody cool. And it could be that person that's shy, not talking just yet. And that could be the next super sinker to join me, right?
Super sinker. All right.
So
gotta trademark
cool.
that.
Yeah.
How do you guys pick the nonprofits that you work with?
That's a great question.
Yeah. There's a couple of different ways. So like at one point, and I don't want to say at one point because we're still kind of amassing lists of nonprofits and different services. But, in the beginning, it was really us reaching out and having to explain what we're doing and why we want to talk to them. Now, I think our message is out a little bit more. So it's sorry. It's a combination of us reaching out and doing, the community outreach and trying to understand the mission of an organization and how we can help. But then, like, we're also starting to see now organizations reach out to us and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, we love what y'all are doing. We just love to talk with you. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know how we can partner, but we love to talk with you." And then that's when we explain and we show, hey, we can have this kind of impact for you.
We're like, that's us, except we're not nonprofit, but we want to get to know you.
Well, sadly, most of the time, our company's nonprofit, not voluntarily.
Right.
Not called a nonprofit, but not making profit. Yeah. Just kidding. We're in the green, I think, this year.
We're talking about all these events, and it sounds like it's hard to understand. It sounds like the way to see it is to see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what I always tell people. We get people that want to collaborate with us, whether even if it's a like nonprofit or for profit, or people have been wanting to collaborate with us because I think they see how authentic and genuine we are.
Right.
What I always tell people is, we need you to experience it first. I want you to experience it. Then let's talk about what we can do together. Because this may not be your cup of tea. We think it will be, right? So, when somebody approaches and says, "Hey, would love to collaborate with you," we're like, "Come on out, third Thursday, check it out." And it's almost always, "Wow, yes.
Yeah.
How can I be featured at this?" Or can we do something specific for my need, but that looks like this? I always say it's the being there and experiencing it is, it tells
it's a
the
very
story
unique experience. I feel like it's like a very unique just approach to not only networking, to promotion for nonprofits and businesses. It's just, I don't know, it's just different.
Do y'all have fun at the events?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have some of my core memories from Seattle are from like the people that I've met at events. And, and I think that's what's unique, right? So it's like very much a networking event, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it. And then also it's very much marketing, helping to market, businesses and nonprofits, but it doesn't feel salesy. It just feels like natural. This is what I'm offering to the community, or this is what I'm selling or promoting. And our audience at these events really do become invested in these causes and brands. And I think it's just something unique and special that you can't really get the feeling or the understanding until you are there. And it's one thing I love is that a lot of people who are from Seattle also say they enjoy our events. So it's very much not like events for transients or events for newcomers, or although we do see a lot of those people, we had someone who said they hadn't been out in Seattle, I think she said 8 years.
Yeah.
She was like, I don't like events. I don't like getting out the house, but I saw this. I'm from Seattle. And she was like, I had the time of my life. And now she's been to like our last 4 events.
Now she's going to be a super singer.
She's going to be a
super singer.
So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, we have to make our way to one.
Yes.
Then.
You guys are all welcome. Yes. We have a lot of events coming up. So
what's the lineup for the summer?
Yes. So I think we've only made it to the beginning of June, but this month it'll be our 2-year anniversary. So we're having a big beach bash at Alki.
Amazing.
We're having our regular monthly third Thursdays, which is May 16th. This one will be at Still Liquor in Capitol Hill. And then we have a Sunday Fun Day at Revelry Room in West Seattle. And then we're doing our first ever kayaking experience. And that's
lake or
we're doing it
sound.
It's the lake.
Lake
Washington.
in Renton.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it'll be my first time kayaking. So and I think that's the other thing I want people to know is like, so yes, we definitely have our recurring events, whether it be like the Sunday Fun Day or the networking, but we also host like just activities. So like we've done like candle pouring and trivia and
I played spades.
I love spades. And I make candles.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So we gotta get you out. We gotta get you out.
I'm in.
I love it. I love it.
In terms of lineup, what I'm most excited about silent disco.
Oh yeah, how could I?
We
haven't
can
been to
offer
one.
silent disco now. We've got the equipment.
Yeah.
We had our third Thursday, which we call Vibes After 5, for April, was
Yeah.
a silent disco at
It was a
Mediate
lot of
Brewing.
fun.
It was a huge hit.
Yeah, we
People
sold
can't wait
out.
for
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it sold out like.
You ever done that?
I have not.
It's a
No.
lot of fun.
Are
And someone
you
asked,
familiar with?
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of
yeah,
them.
someone asked on Instagram. They were like, "But how do you network?" And we're like, "So the headphones, they're 3 different channels, so you can listen to multiple audio sources. But then you just take your earphone off, and now
turn
you
it
can actually
down.
have a conversation without
Yeah.
worrying about
Yeah.
loud music or." It's also just fun and unique to see
Yeah.
people like
Mm-hmm.
grooving
Moving to-
without if
Yeah.
you're just walking up,
Yeah.
which is how we found out about silent discos. After a wedding in New York, we went back to the same park they got married at the day before, just because it was so beautiful. And then we walk and it's like 50 people kind of just moving, and I'm like, is this a cult? Like, I was like, what?
Should we be going the other
Right.
direction?
But yeah, it was just a public event. We bought a ticket right there.
I want to
and-
say, when we first saw it, I don't like the looks of
Yeah.
this. But yeah, I mean,
The concept.
It is when you can't hear the music.
Yeah,
You're like,
it looks-
are you guys okay?
Yes, it's a very unique
Uh-huh.
concept for sure.
Wow.
So, but yeah,
Cool. Yeah, it's gonna be a busy summer. It sounds
it
like.
is. We're
Yes.
excited. We're ready.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, there's a quote: "The growth and success we cannot keep to ourselves."
I like that.
What does that mean?
Ooh, that's
Mm.
good.
Mm.
For me, what immediately comes to mind and what I think has kind of become my motto this year for Sync is that all of the success that we're seeing, the growth, whether the organic growth or like the work that we put in, is not for our fulfillment. Like all year, I've been saying our goal is to put as many businesses and nonprofits on the map as possible. So for me, it's like my growth, our growth and success is really the community's growth and success. So
Mhm.
seeing people becoming familiar with missions that they have never heard of, or people supporting
Right.
more businesses,
Mhm.
small local businesses than they would have. So it's like, while yes, it's fulfilling to us, my hope and my goal is that it really fulfills someone else, someone who may have been lonely, someone who may have been searching for their community or searching for a cause to support.
Mhm.
That's growth and success within their own individual experience. And for me, like that's all I need.
Hmm.
What would you say?
I say, so we talked about gifts earlier, and I think I don't want to get too spiritual, but I'll just say, I think when you're given a gift, you have to be humble enough to recognize that you did nothing to earn that gift. And because you did nothing to earn that gift, you're really just a steward of it. And you have to be responsible in how that stewardship is manifested. And so if you take a gift and you say, this is all me, this is all me, this is all me, I just want to reap all of the benefits of it for myself, you are not honoring that gift. You're monetizing it maybe, but you're not honoring it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not giving back to the source of that gift, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, when you look at it in that way and say, hey, I didn't earn this, but I was given this for a reason, kind of the whole who much is given, much is required.
Right.
That type of mentality and that same concept of, so we were given gifts that, the bringing people together, but there's also some unique gifts I think both of us are given that we exercise through Sync Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's both of us realizing that there's a bigger picture and there's something bigger than us that we are required to give back to, and so that's kind of how I look at it. I think if we were just selfish and said, hey, we're just going to throw these parties for us and, to hell with everybody that comes out and, is too shy to meet people, we're having fun and our friends are having fun. then I don't think we would be having this conversation right now. I don't think we would have had the growth that we've had. But I think it's because of the perspective that we have of this thing that, like, I look at sync as a privilege to be able to do this. It's a
privilege is a good word.
Yeah.
I think we have a line in some of our values that, I mean, for our most talented people, they have a privilege, but it's also a duty to serve with that with that power. I mean, and I love that.
Servant leadership. That's where we can exercise leadership in that space. We use that to serve, to serve. And, you know, as they say, you know, the first shall be last, last shall be first. The servants of you will be the greatest of you.
Right.
That same concept is the way we approach Sync Seattle.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Mic drop on that one.
I don't want to do that. This looks expensive.
Should we do future? I think
So
we're getting carried away.
Yeah.
Which is good.
When you look, this question we asked, so these two are always at the end. So when you look to the future, say right at the very end, what is the impact of what you're doing, the long-lasting legacy, whatever you want to call it, the impact of Sync?
If I were to receive a postcard from the future from myself, what I would want it to say is, your brand that you and your wife built has changed the way Seattle, and who knows how far we expand out, but wherever we're touching, changes the way that Seattle looks at and supports Black businesses, Black-led nonprofits, and all of these entities have gotten to a point where they're on equal playing field, economically and politically, and in all of these ways where they were previously left away from the table, right?
Yes.
You know, and on the third side of it, where we're talking connecting people with people, I'd like to see more people that look like me enjoy living here.
Yeah.
You know, what you'll see in the Black community here, especially amongst people who are transients, is people live here about 2 years, and then that's like the mark of, are they going to stay, or are you bouncing to go back down south or somewhere? And I live down south majority of my life. I'll take it here over there any day. But people that look like me tend to leave,
right?
Because they don't see familiarity. They don't see themselves. You know, they don't see themselves represented here. And that's something that I want to change and help people feel at home here. This is a beautiful place. We've fallen in love with it here. We want people to see the same thing that we see. And we want people to feel like, yeah, I can make a home here. You know?
Yeah. I think for me, I would want it to look like our brand, when people like see our brand and think of us, that they want to get better connected to the humanity within them. So finding that kindness, finding that spirit of wanting to be around others and with others, even for the most introvert, because a lot of people don't know Derrick is, well, you're not technically, call yourself
I'm an introverted extrovert.
Yeah, like he's I'm very much like the extrovert. So I would hope that if anyone from around the world saw Sync Seattle plus whatever wherever we end up growing, that they feel like a softness and a kindness, and they're able to like connect with the humanity within them, but then hoping that our mission wants them to connect with the humanity in other people. And then in addition to that, I truly hope that people get more hip to volunteering and donating to local causes, because I think it's so easy to like volunteerism, or if you have the ability to be a donor, it kind of sometimes feels like that thing over there, like, oh, they're philanthropists, or like there are people out there who are already giving, like it's just like another thing. I'm like, no, when people hear of like Sync, I want them to think about like, oh man, I haven't volunteered in like 5 or 6 months. Let me go like look and see what's happening. Or let me go turn back on my recurring $5 gift a month. Like I want them to be proactively thinking about local causes and even local businesses. It's maybe like 10 years from now, if someone said like Sync Seattle, I think like, you know what, I haven't shopped local lately. Like, let me go hit up like a local shop. So for me, it's like humanity, volunteering, donating, and supporting small businesses is kind of like what people think of when they think of our name.
The brand is a reminder to be that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. One question we didn't ask before I asked the last question was, how can people get engaged? And who should come to the events? Who should reach out?
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of who should come to the events, we want everybody and their mama to come out.
Yeah.
Well, most of the events are 21 and up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our third Thursday.
Yeah, like 95%.
Yeah, those are almost all
21 up.
Yeah. But we will have more community events that are like family centered too. So, and in those cases, yeah, everybody and your mama and your kids and all of that at that point, right? How do you link up with us? On Instagram, that's our number one channel probably, which is just sync.seattle on Instagram. Our website is syncseattle.com. We're on TikTok, but I think that's going away pretty soon.
Yeah.
Facebook, we're on there. I'm on Facebook because I'm old.
Just Sync Seattle on Facebook. Yeah, one thing I do want to clarify about like who should come. We have been asked a question in the past, and I appreciate this question. So because we do highlight Black-led nonprofits and businesses, we never want the assumption to be that only Black people are welcome at our event. So we hope to foster we do foster a space where when he says anybody in your mom, like literally like, please come and like learn and connect with other people.
Non-Black people come out all the time and have a blast.
Yes. Yeah. So I do. Yes. Yeah, I do want to clarify that. Although we are very much a Black-centered space.
Yeah.
We're very open and welcoming.
Oh yeah.
Of people. Knowing you guys, I figured that was the case.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, we always say like Sync will be here. So whenever you're ready to come to an event, you can find us.
I lied. I have one more question, and we probably should already know the answer to this. The name Sync, SYNC.
Yeah.
Tell us where that comes from.
All right. I always say I'm not good at naming things, and I'll stand on that. But I get lucky at times. So we were talking like this was leading into our first event. We didn't
were like, what do we call it?
We were going to do an event. We were like, that was actually a blocker for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, you got to know what to put on Eventbrite and everything. And so I remember saying it needs to be something simple. One word that people will get. I think I said Sync, and I immediately hated it. And I think you came back around to Sync.
Like,
I kind of like it. And I was like, okay.
Because I don't think we had the Seattle part yet. I think we just came up with Sync.
Yeah.
And then we're like, what do we just say? Sync Seattle's kind of catchy.
Yeah. We just ran with it and we said, it's early. We can rebrand if we need to after this event, but we got to do something to get people out. It stuck pretty well. Like people really liked it, and it made perfect sense to us as to what we were trying to do. And you think about it, we're trying to sink Seattle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
You know,
literally, quite
that's
literally.
the goal.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it really just kind of says what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, in it easy. So
So our last question is going to be it's extra hard for you two. And this is the last question we ask on every show.
Mm-hmm.
So the show is all about advocating for people,
Sure.
making a positive change in the community. Who in the community do you think doesn't get enough credit for the change they fight for?
Oh,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many.
I think for me, I cannot pinpoint one person, but undoubtedly it's Black-led nonprofits, like and businesses as well. Historically underfunded, historically underrepresented, especially Black-led nonprofits. I think they get, compared to their white counterparts, there's like 2% of like funding for their organization
Wow.
compared to whatever XYZ. At least that was a couple years ago. So undoubtedly, and those Black-led nonprofits are often very grassroots, like sometimes having a bootstrap, but they're the ones that are truly close to the community and making that positive change. And that's not to say that others aren't, but undoubtedly it would be like singing their missions to the mountaintop.
That's too easy. You got.
Oh,
well, I've got one. I was just about to say, I don't want to name any because I don't want to leave any out. But I'm gonna name.
I know
one.
It's hard.
Yeah, I'm gonna name one that means a lot to me. Even though I'm not a part of this organization, we've gotten a chance to work with them. But it's called Build 206.
Oh yeah.
And these guys, Build stands for Brothers United in Leadership Development. And these brothers, like, they're a group of guys that they're doing the work in the community of mentoring young men into being grown men, right? Supporting businesses. They had some business incubators recently for some businesses that were looking to get started up, and they've had grants. And we worked with them and another organization on their annual summer kickball back to school thing this past summer, and that was an honor to be able to do that because this is a group of guys that are all from this community and have been doing the work in this community for years. We came here, we featured them at an event, and they see us as a community partner.
Yeah, and that's an honor.
Yeah, we watch them doing great work all over this city.
Okay, since you asked, I will pick one, and it's an organization and a friend too. Monica Thornton Lawrence with Powerful Beginnings, which I believe you guys met her at the dinner we met.
We love Monica.
Her mission, even though I've never been, fortunately have not been a victim of domestic violence, knowing her mission matched with just her personality and like love for the world, I wish more people knew about her organization. So we've sponsored her twice. She was actually awarded the Tammy L. Abington, My Mom's Award at our last event. So yeah, if someone wanted to walk away wanting to know more about a new mission, it would be Powerful Beginnings.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree.
Yep.
Well, Derrick and Tanise, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
so
you for having
fun.
us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a whole lot of fun. This was a great conversation. Thank you all for having us. Such a huge honor just to be, for people to want to hear what we're talking about. Like, it was a whole lot.
Yeah, and I think one thing that like excited us about just getting more connected with you all and your company is just like the name and what you stand for and like how you show up. So even like the dinner that we met at, right? Like the way you show up for the community feels so authentic. And I hope you guys never lose that. Like
that means a lot.
Yeah, no, you can feel it. And
thank you so much.
No, it's something we're worried about.
And we all are doing.
We care a lot. But we're worried that it looks like we're doing it for the wrong reasons or.
Yeah, we don't, at least we don't get that.
No,
like, I think we're excited to be in connection with you all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.